Welcome to Don't Panic Geocacher. In this episode, I will guide you through solving connection-style geocaching puzzles. These puzzles involve finding links or common themes between seemingly unrelated items. You may recognize them from the New York Times or from other magazines online, and they're also used in geocaching puzzles. I'm going to show how to solve them, but also show you how large language models like ChatGPT can help you solve them when you get stuck, thereby helping you solve more puzzles. To tie it all together, I'll also walk through an example of a geocache puzzle that doesn't directly use a connection style puzzle, but certainly uses the same themes and you have to solve in somewhat of a similar way. So I'll use that at the end. My name is Arjen and I'm also known as Waterfan5. If these episodes are helpful to you, please like and subscribe. Before I start, one more tip. For the best experience, please watch on a computer and in high resolution, especially when I go into the puzzles. High resolution works best for visualization of the puzzles themselves. Here's an example of a connections puzzle. As I mentioned, New York Times publishes one every day. And what you get is 16 words that you have to group together in 4 groups of 4. So all the words belong to one of the groups, and you have to figure out what the groups are. And I've seen many geocaches that utilize this type of example, where they give you 16 words, sometimes geocaching related, sometimes not geocaching related, and you have to find the categories. And then, for example, you have to enter the first letter of each category into the checker to prove that you have solved this puzzle. So this is a fairly common standard style puzzle, and as I mentioned, used in geocaching. So let's take a look at this particular one and see how it is solved. So you have seen an example. So here's an example. This was the one of June 4, 2025, and the 16 words. So how I typically start this is just by reading all the words and trying to find all interpretations, right? See what categories I can already come to and see if I give to the same category. So in this case, we have pipe and hook. Oh, that looks like both things that maybe are related to a wall. Root, more to the ground, but could also be math related. Apple, fruit, but also a painter and a computer thing. Cheer, okay, cheer on something. Console almost seems the opposite of cheer, right? But also computer related. So now we have 2 computer related things. Cloud in the sky, but again, also maybe computer related. Bridge, oh, bridge, you go over a bridge, you play a game bridge. Runner, somebody that runs, or something that's in a hallway, like a runner type thing. So again, several things. Bowler, um, somebody that bowls, I guess. Um, and sometimes I will look up words as well and see if I see certain types of synonyms, right? So, and then refrain. Oh, it's refrain, kind of like to stop things. Whistle, okay. Whistling and cheering, that both seems to be things that happen in a stadium. Something like bench, you can sit on. We have something else that we can sit on. Maybe console. Um, chorus, okay. Chorus, part of a music, part of church, part of song. There's lots of things that chorus could be related to. Clap, okay, clap your hands. Character from a video game. He's part of the name, and code rec, also something that is a furniture. So, and now you basically have to find 4 words that belong together. I've already played this one, so I kind of know the answers. This is actually quite a tricky one. I had lots of trouble solving this one. So this would have been a good one for me to get some assistance. But in this case, so for example, we saw whistle and cheer. They seem to be things, and then clap your hands. That seem to be 3 things that are related. So now we have something fourth that is maybe related to that. So so we have clap, and then last one here in this series is root. So to root on, to cheer on, to whistle, to clap is all things submit, and we can indeed see that is to support. If you have it wrong, so let me do something wrong. it will tell me that I'm wrong. If I am close, it will also tell me that you're close. Sometimes it will tell you that you're like one away, so that you know that you have 3 out of 4. So, for example, I already mentioned that there are certain things that look like song related. So, whoops. So, bridge is part of a song, chorus is part of a song, um, refrain also part of a song, and then we'll pick one something else, and you'll see it says one away. Because in this case, clearly the runner was incorrect. Because if we're thinking about songs, then the last one is the hook line of the song, and so on. And now we have 2. And you see these categories that will come up. So we'll do the last 2 as well. Um, so the last 2 I was indeed things furniture related, bench, console, a rack, coat rack, and a runner. It's all things in an entryway, very specific. Now the last one, I had 4 left, and by the time I had this, I had still no clue why these 4 were connected. It turned out that they were imagery in Marguerite paintings, very specific, right? I had no clue. It was just the 4 remaining words, so it had to be correct. So this is how you solve them. We've solved this puzzle, but you can see it can be quite obscure, and if you're not familiar with these type of paintings, then this one would be very complicated. If you're not so good with songs, this one might be very complicated. So that's what makes these hard to solve, that you have to sometimes think out of the box. It will help you a little bit, but there's really not a lot of guessing you can do. So you can see these puzzles can get quite tricky, because words can belong to multiple themes. Sometimes you don't immediately see the theme, and it may require specific knowledge, sometimes local knowledge. Especially with geocaching puzzles, I've seen a few that would be very hard to solve if you're unfamiliar with the area, or maybe if you're even unfamiliar with some local lore around geocaching. So sometimes you may need help. So one of the ways you can use help is to use large language models like a ChatGPT or a Gemini or something else as your friend to help you solve them. So solving geocaches with friends is often a lot more fun and also a lot easier, but it may not always work out that they're interested in the same puzzle that you are trying to solve. So this is when these large language models like ChatGPT can become helpful in helping you solve these puzzles and helping you go through the flow of solving it. And I will going to show you how to do that as well. So here is another example, 16 words, and we have to find how to group these 16 words in groups of 4. Again, I have a link here. I will go there. But in this case, before even going there, I'm just going to take the 16 words and putting them into ChatGPT in this case. So here's another one. So 16 words. And again, you can look over it. Vibe, summer, maybe day related, apple again, plunger, spoiler, cusp. And so you may not have an idea where to start. And so this is how I'm going to show you how you can use tools like ChatGPT to help you solve these type of puzzles. And here is what we're going to do. I'm going to take these 16 words and I'm going to take them all and I'm going to tell them to ChatGPT. But not just tell them, I'm going to tell specifically what I'm trying to do. So I'm going to give it a piece of text and I'm going to say, you're solving a puzzle like New York Times connections. I'm going to give it 16 words. I'm telling it that. And I'm telling that I need to find 4 groups that are related and that they may have a common theme. So I'm giving an introduction and what the common themes might be: furniture, there might be similar emotional support, there might be sport, computing related, homonyms, alternative meanings. So I'm giving some examples, right? And then I say they shouldn't overlap. Each group needs to have a clear, unique theme. Themes may be subtle or pun based. And then I say what I want from the output: a title and a theme, 4 works in the groups, and then I say here are the 16 words. So all of this is a standard text that I can reuse for anything, and the only thing that I need to use is my 16 words. So already type them out, so I can just paste them in here. So I'm going to put my 16 words behind it. So pipe, Eve, remember all the words, and I'm now going to paste them in. And it will immediately come up with an answer. It says like, hey, car parts. There's things that are tools. There's things that are edges and thresholds. And there are themes to the Garden of Eden. Apple, snake, grow, summer. Not quite sure if they're correct, but hey, it gave me some good suggestions. So let's try out the first one. Bumper, grill, spoiler, and rim. That feels pretty good. So going back to the game, I'm going to find those 4 words. Spoiler, grill, rim, bumper. And ta-da! It is correct. Good job. Now let's take a look at the next one. Tools. Wrench, plumber, pipe, plumber, and puncher and turner. Okay? So turner, pipe, plunger, and wrench. And we see one away. So what I can do is basically say, hey, right, so I could say the car parts was correct. So group 1, group 2 with the tools is 1 off. So basically I tell it um, that the first part was correct and the second part's okay. And so it says like, hey, I think it maybe pipe didn't belong here in that list, and so it comes up with an alternative. It says like, hey, ripe, plunger, turner, snake. Snake is a plumbing tool. Okay, that's good. So basically it gives those 3. But it says Brink, Verge, Cusp, and Eve feels pretty solid about those. So let's actually try that one, because that feels pretty solid to me as well. Brink, Cusp, Verge, and Eve, all things that are kind of like on the edge of things. Yeah, pretty good. And then for the next one, and let me just quickly peek again, what did it give me? Wrench, plumber, turner, and snake. So wrench, plumber, turner, and snake. That's it. Oh, still 1 off. So I can say again, oh, I can now say that number, what was it? The tools are still 1 off, but the, what was it called, the other category? So edges, but the edges group was correct. Okay, and so on. So now we can see, so it's going on. So now it says like, hey, wait a minute. So and it's going to try on, right? But at this point, it basically says like, hey, we have to do something else. So we know now this wasn't correct. We had twice 3 correct. So instead of maybe turner, we need pipe, because they're all toilet related. And indeed, there's all plumbing. And now we have 1 category left. And if you look at it, these are all female singers. Yeah, female rock stars. And we have solved one. So you can see here how a bot like ChatGPT can help you solve these type of puzzles by giving you ideas, maybe things that you didn't know. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes you see it doesn't go well, it gets you halfway, but it can help you when you get stuck and help you give you new ideas. So now you've seen true connection style puzzles, right? 2 examples of what they are. But in geocaching, you often have to use a similar principle. Although they're not directly a connection style puzzle, they're puzzles where you have to find a connection with words that are not always very clear. Instead of giving you the words, they give you a wall of text, and you have to find the words amongst them. If you're lucky they belong to a single category, I've seen some where it truly was a connections puzzle hidden into a wall of text, where you have to find which 16 words do I need, and how do I group them together, and how do they form a coordinate. It can become quite tricky. So I created just a sample puzzle, not too hard. It's definitely harder ones out there in the field. where you have to do that. And I'm going to use the same solution strategy. I'm going to use LLMs and ChatGPT again in this case to help us solve this particular puzzle by giving it the specific text. Okay, so here's the fake puzzle that I created. Ignore everything, location, stuff like that. That's all fake. It's not a real puzzle. I created it specific for this video, but it was inspired by a real video or a real puzzle that I saw and a puzzle that I solved with the help of ChatGPT. And so you may have seen these puzzles. They just have a bunch of text in the thing, maybe some kind of like extra material to make it harder for you to find out what's going on by using fancy fonts, and they tell some kind of weird story. And now it's like, good luck, here are the coordinates. They don't give you really a puzzle, they just give you a bunch of text. That could be anything, right? It could be that you have to count sentences, it have to count that maybe it is chemical elements where they start with. There's all kinds of things. There could be numbers hidden in them. But if you've tried a lot of these things and none of it seems to work, one of the things that you may want to try and look for connections. Connections of words in this text that are related to each other that maybe because you're reading it, you don't really realize that they're connected to each other. So there's all kinds of words in here where I'm saying, okay, chew the last bit of steak, there's a sun, there's a desert, there's a grill, there's all kinds of words that are basically in here. Which words am I looking for? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask ChatGPT to say, analyze this text and see if you can find a connection between these words. So let me show you the prompt that how I like to use it. So start a new prompt. And basically what I'm saying, analyze the text below and look carefully for potentially hidden and planted words that share a common theme. Focus on identifying nouns, verbs, or adjectives that stand out. Because, for example, they could all be colors, like the green, the blue, the something, and maybe we have to use colors of a rainbow. They could be verbs, certain verbs that are being used, or they could be nouns. That's typically the three that are being used. And again, I'm going to say, what are we using? Popular themes, colors, animals, countries, homonyms. Pretty much the same thing that I was telling in the earlier connections chat. But I also specifically ask, see, geographic locations. Maybe they're all river names. Maybe there's something going on. And I say, I'm not looking for 16 words and 16 connections. I'm looking here for what is the best suggestion you have. And then also the words that are kind of like the proof of that. And then I give a suggestion of how I want the output. I don't want miles and miles of text. I just want the output. So I have noticed that ChatGPT looks at these very objectively and can find out words that seem to be planted really well. So I'm going to create this text. I'm going to give it and just paste it underneath. Underneath here is the text. I put all the text from the geocache page on there. And what I'm also going to do is give it the title as well, because the title might be a hint. So often I feed it the title as well. And now see what it says. And when I do that, then it says like, hey, look what I found. A lot of these are Minecraft materials. Stake, grill, tent, excavation, ice, block, snow, chart, and stone. It comes up with a whole bunch of stone that are Minecraft related. I know very little about Minecraft, so I wouldn't have found this. But apparently if I go look for this, would be able to get to some numbers. So let's try that. Let's take these numbers and see if it is correct. So with a little bit of help of Google, I found a Minecraft page, and it turns out all these Minecraft objects have unique IDs. So let's take a look at the first one. Steak, and I put it here in this Minecraft ID page. Put it here, search for an item, and it says steak. It has number 364. Now wait a minute. If I look at my coordinates, they start with 364. This looks like a great start. And so it's now easily to see, maybe not all the words from our analysis, but let's take the next one, grill. well turned out to be not a good word but somewhat related, and so on. We can go through this list and see if we can find other words that are being found that are part of this list, right? That are could be part of our puzzle. So no, none of these fit. But now we get to ice. Oops, ice. And now we see that ice works and ice has a number associated. So we maybe have too many words, but we now have a good word list to start with. And since we had a very promising start with steak, we have a pretty good idea that we have solved the puzzle. So now we've seen an example of a geocaching puzzle where you had to use connections to solve, and of course regular connections puzzles. The prompts that I use you can actually find online. I put them on my website so that you can copy them and use them as well, so you don't have to recreate them. And basically what this means is, you saw me do, is use ChatGPT kind of like as a puzzle buddy. You exchange ideas, you tell them what you know, you tell them what you think is right, what is wrong, and you get the insight of your online puzzle buddy friend, right? This can be useful in case that your puzzle group that you normally solve puzzles with is unavailable, or like I said, may not be interested in a specific puzzle that you need to solve for a particular trip or a specific situation. I do recommend that you create like a list of these prompts, so that the next time you see a similar style puzzle, you don't have to recreate it. If something works for you for a specific style puzzle, then it's good to have that and put it in the next time as well, together with the assignment that you give, because the more detailed you can tell these LLMs of what you need from them, the better they are in assisting you, and the smarter they become. So I hope this was useful for you. Again, please like and subscribe. That will help other people find these episodes as well. That way more people can make use of it, and also we'll get better puzzles and more puzzles hopefully out there in the geocaching world. If you want to contact me, you can reach me by Waterfan5. My name is Arjen, as I mentioned. That's Arjen. And on the geocaching.com website. Or you can email me through Gmail, and I'm happy to correspond that way. If you have a specific comment that you would like to leave, or maybe you have seen something else, then I'm always appreciating comments. I will see new ideas, maybe something for a future episode that I can talk about. Always appreciate those. Or maybe you have some of your puzzles that you say like, hey, these would be good examples to talk about. Please send them to me. I'm happy to use other people's puzzles and give them my insights of how I solve them, or maybe and help other people solve more puzzles. With that, thank you very much for your time and hope to see you next episode.